Hello, this is Tom, aka Jetio here for Tabletop Tap Room. And you knew I was going to do it. I'm actually not going to do it. There is a lot of coverage going on about Kyle Brink's comment that white men can't leave the hobby fast enough. And I mean, everybody from the GM to Tenkar, I mean, everybody's covering it. I went and looked at the original interview, and I actually have pulled 13 minutes of clips out of that interview because I kind of feel like there are things said in there that make you go, huh. In light of this whole controversy with the OGL, that I was like, oh, that's more interesting than him saying, I mean, white men can't leave the hobby fast enough. That's like a dog whistle. That's just, yeah, and everybody's perseverating on that. And I think it's distracting us from some of the really interesting bits of this interview. So first off, I just want to put a little plug in, a little product plug to support the channel. We are selling OSR Gaming Only Show Respect t-shirts, and you can get those. The link is in the show notes. We have a little store for some merch, and we promote the OSR values because people in the OSR are good people. And, I don't care what side of the political spectrum you're on. You're just good people. And if you only show respect, you don't need a hateful content document from WotC. If you just say, look, I'm just going to treat those people the way I want to be treated, it's all going to be good. It's really that simple. And we don't need rules in a special hateful content document from WotC to tell us how to behave. We just don't really need that. But the other thing is I want to promote Three Black Hobbits YouTube channel. They did the interview, and I really want to give props to Jeremy, who kind of pushed, and he kind of pushed, to stay on for certain questions they wanted to get. Of course, they had reached out to their Discord. Hey, what questions should we ask? And so they took questions from the Discord, and I really felt like he did a good job. And he might not be a Barbara Walters, but he's on the right path, and I thought he did a great job with the interview. And so, my hat is off to him. Excellent interview, even though this was a damage control stunt by Kyle Brink. And, so let's just get into it and take a look at these clips.
This entire conversation is obviously in the wake of the OGL controversy. So my first question would be, why is it that management feels the need to change the OGL in the first place, or at least felt the need to change the OGL in the first place?
Yeah, so we still have a lot of real concerns about big media corps moving into the D&D space, new technologies that weren't considered when the OGL was first written, the emergence of some hateful content that's coming around out there. When you have a bigger community, you have a bigger duty, and we're just worried about the impact of some of these things. Mm-hmm. And that was the origin. I will say that I've been at Wizards for a couple of years now, and this was in process when I got here. So these concerns have been a concern at Wizards for a long time, and I was part of the team that picked up the ball and continued forward with it. But those were the motivations behind it, is worries about. And when I say big media corps, I don't mean Wizards big. I mean like Meta big. I mean like Disney big. That's the kind of stuff we were actually worried about.
Okay, so let's break that down a little bit. They've doubled down again on, we got to worry about NFTs, and we got to worry about big corporations abusing D&D and hateful content. So, if that is their concern, then they've totally abdicated the throne by putting everything in the Creative Commons. Now, I'm not saying they shouldn't have, I'm not unhappy with them putting it in the Creative Commons. I'm just pointing out, then if that was your big concern, you totally abdicated the throne. Oh, we have a duty to take care of D&D. We have a duty to shepherd this. And so I'm not buying this. Again, it's this is a Pinocchio right here, and the nose is getting bigger. It's not the last we're gonna see.
Like, in what way were you worried about a company like Disney, like somehow interfering with D&D?
So under the OGL 108 is written, there's quite a bit of things you could do with the SRD, and just as a for instance, this wasn't a specific concern.
So he's asked to give an example. Just for instance, not a specific concern. We weren't really concerned about this.
But you asked for an example.
Mhm.
Let's say that you were a large social media company that had built an amazing social media platform, and then you would use those dollars to make a virtual reality metaverse, you might say. Let's say you were some unnamed company that had done all those things, and then you decided to make a D&D virtual reality space where people could come and play D&D in VR. Well, as written, we wouldn't be there at the table to talk with them about what's true to D&D and what's not. And we would be very concerned about where a company like that has not had a great track record, honestly, with how it manages its community and what it allows people to do on its platforms, what they would do with D&D. And so we were looking for ways to be at the table when those conversations take place.
Okay, so lots to unpack here. Now, he got really cute with, alluding to Facebook Meta. He already named them, so he didn't need to be cute. Like, I'm letting you know that it's Facebook Meta without saying it. But he's already named them and Disney in the just seconds before this clip, and so, and I point that out because later on, after the interview, Liv and Jeremy will be on. They'll be giving reactions, and one of the things they're going to bring up and say, yeah, it really, the questions really came off like they were well practiced ahead of time. And I think this is evidence of it. This was written. Oh, this will be cute. This will be funny. We'll distract people with this. And so this is evidence to me of a memorized, prepared. Oh, when this comes up, I'm going to say this. Now, the other thing here that's important is that he has gone to, Meta doing a 3D, environment. And he doesn't talk about the VTTs because nobody's doing the 3D environment. They're doing the VTTs, virtual tabletops, accessing through a computer. And I think that's an important thing to point out, because that OGL that they tried to foist off on us had it was designed to edge out, muscle out any competition from the VTTs. So again, he's doing this and going, oh, the metaverse, and he's ignoring the VTTs. That's the gorilla in the room here. But we will get back to VTTs a little bit later on.
Okay, so you're saying that, like, over the course of the years that you guys spent developing the document, you lost sight of the overall scope?
I love Jeremy because you can tell throughout the interview he's not buying the BS, and you get that in the end when it's him and Liv discussing the interview
Of who it might affect?
I would say it's more that we lost sight. I would say we've lost sight of the impact of what the impact could be on the people we weren't concerned about.
What did he just say? Of the people we weren't, we lost sight of the impact on the people we weren't concerned about. Okay, they were not concerned about the fans and the third-party creators. They don't care about us. They don't care about the OSR. They don't care about third-party creators. And so he admits it here. This is like a Freudian slip. We lost sight of the impact on the people we weren't concerned about. That's an important statement. To me, that's a more damning statement than just saying, "Yeah, white men can't leave the hobby fast enough."
Our focus was so much on who we were concerned about that we lost sight of who we were not concerned about.
And who they were concerned about was, oh, we're worried about what Disney or Meta might do. That's what they were concerned about. We wanted to be at the table to make sure we get to tell them what D&D is all about.
So you've essentially been given authority to be able to influence these decisions, is what you're saying? You and your team have been given greater authority in order to influence these decisions?
I would say greater respect, because
what does that mean? Okay, he's been basically implying, "Oh yeah, it won't happen. I've, my voice is in there now, and we have." And so Jeremy's like, clarifying. So you're telling us you have greater authority, and he's like, "Well, yeah, I would say greater respect. It means nothing. It means nothing. They respect you until they don't. That's how it goes."
Authority for each decision needs to rest with a different person depending on what kind of decision we're making. That being said, being heard and being respected is important.
Sure. I wish that they had heard and respected the fans and the third-party creators out there that have been making this hobby great. This hobby has been built on the backs of third-party creators because WotC's own products kind of stink sometimes. It's the creativity is in the OSR, and it's in the third-party creators. The creativity is not at WotC. And I really wish that they had heard and respected us, but they didn't.
So I know that there were a number of concerns with the OGL, I think even the OGL 1.2 that had been proposed, that there were provisions in there that talked about potentially, I guess, shutting down a project if it does not align with Wizards' values. The concern by much of the community, I mean, some of our show members, as many of our fans fit into numerous minority groups. There has been a fear raised that if hypothetically there was turnover at Wizards of the Coast, and I say a heavily conservative leadership took over, and suddenly say pro LGBTQ plus content is now considered harmful and offensive. Is the kind of action that was proposed in the OGL 1.2 still a possibility? Is that still something that Wizards is looking towards, having that sort of authority? And if so, what protections are being put in place to prevent something like that happening?
That's a similar response to what about outside actors and new technologies coming in and making a mess. The community are the ones who tell us when we publish something hateful or racist, so that we.
All right. I just want to point out here that he is admitting, this is the Wizards of the Coast executive producer on D&D. He is admitting that they publish hateful and racist content, and they're gonna preach to us about hateful content. I'm like, your credibility is shot, dude. I'm not buying it.
We can take action on it, and we expect that they will tell other people the same thing. And so we're going to count on that community and support that community in helping all content creators to keep the game ever more inclusive, ever more open, ever more welcoming. So we won't be doing it through legal language. We'll be doing it by supporting the voices who are calling out for improved inclusivity and improved openness.
So basically, they're going to use the Twitter mob to go after anyone they consider hateful. And that leads us to our next point here.
We're working on a content policy because people asked, hey, what do you even consider hateful? So we feel like we should publish something that says what we consider hateful, and something that is adaptable and something that can grow with time as society wakes up and opens its eyes. And that will only apply to us, of course, because we don't have a legal structure in place to apply to anybody else. But we feel like you should know what our standards are. And we feel like you should be able to participate in helping us improve our standards. So we're working on a content policy to open the doors on that some. But that those two things together are how I'd answer your question. We're counting on the community, and we're going to show you where our head's at on all this.
So, the content policy is moot if you're not going to have the mechanism to shut down people for hateful content. But they're actually planning on counting on the community. And there was another comment, and I kind of edited it out when I was pulling all these clips together to try to get this down to a reasonable time. But there was another comment where he implied that there would be a reporting process connected to this hateful content policy. So I think what we can expect in the future is unleash the dogs, unleash the Twitter mob, and cancel this content creator because we don't like their content. And so I think that's what you're going to see in the future. That's how I read this. And so they just wouldn't even need to have a hateful content policy if they were not going to have this. But they are going to have a reporting mechanism, and they're going to be counting on the community, which really translates to sick the Twitter mob on them and get them canceled. And so that is the plan for the future. Moving on.
And so for the things that we publish, we have a thorough inclusion review process right now, where we have external inclusion reviewers, inclusivity reviewers, multiple, 2 or 3 usually, look over every word that we publish, give us a complete report on the things that we need to take action on. We figure out what we're going to take action on. We advise them of the things how we're taking action on their feedback, and then we publish it. And so we do have already, I say already, as of last fall, but going forward, it is an established policy now for everything we publish. And we're also going back, and anything we reprint, we're going through all our old content as we reprint it and putting it through that same rigor. So, when you see the reprint of Curse of Strahd when it comes out, we have some things that we need to do to that to make it better. And we're going to do it based on these outside experts who've advised us on this. So that's our approach internally, and then also in the content policy you see coming forward, we have some ways for the community as well to officially advise us.
Okay, yeah, that's where it was. The content policy. There are ways for the community to officially advise us, and so you're also going to have outside content advisors. Sensitivity advisors are going to be reviewing everything, and they're going to edit things before they allow them to be reprinted. They need to make them better. Now, I want to comment on that, but I think I'll wait for the next clip. Suddenly I'm like, no more reprints off of one bookshelf. I might have to limit myself on purpose to just purchasing them on eBay. Get something that is actually vintage. The only problem is that I have been noticing reprints being sold on eBay that are obviously reprints. I'm carefully looking at the pictures and I'm going, that's a reprint. I'm not paying $40 for it. Not when I can go on one bookshelf and order it for $6-7. That's just not going to happen. So I got a feeling that you're going to have this dual market where you have the edited reprints, and then it's the vintage stuff's going to be in greater demand and prices are going to go up. So if you've got a lot of vintage stuff you're thinking about selling, hang on to it for 2 years. Hang on to it before you start selling it, because I think the prices are quite possibly about to go up.
The other thing is we have D&D has a long history. It's got a long and deep lore that goes back to some really troubling stuff. Mm-hmm. And so we're in a place where we want to acknowledge and bring forward some of the cool nostalgia, but also fix the broken stuff, fix the stuff that was wrong about it. And it's in that space, it's very possible for somebody meaning well to make what they think is a nostalgic callback that actually dredges up with that hook a whole big wad of terrible stuff that we did not want in there in the first place.
So here we have this idea that we must go back and whitewash history. We must go back and fix history. And this is very problematic. You can't do this. You can't go back and whitewash and change history. And, I worked one time with an editor of a fan magazine. And the previous editor, who had been there for just 2 issues, this guy did not like his editing choices. So he was like, I want to redo those 2 issues. And I'm like, you can't do that. That's that man's work. Leave it alone. You've got enough work to do. It's a fan magazine. We're not getting paid anyways. Why are you doing this? And he couldn't leave it alone. He was a perfectionist, and it just bothered him. And he had to control everything. And he went back and redid some of the past issues of the magazine and then put them back up on the internet for download. And I was so disappointed with that. That was that person's stuff. Okay, that's what they published. And if you're going back and doing research and how did they used to play? Okay, how did they used to play D&D in the 70s? It's different than how we play it today with 5e. But if you're going to go and fix everything, it's just going to make the 70s look like 5e. And you're doing a disservice to history. You're doing a disservice to players. You're doing a disservice all the way around. And they're determined to fix everything going back to the 70s and redo everything. It's problematic. And you can't whitewash history. You can, but it doesn't have good results because people who forget history are doomed to repeat it. So just on general principle, I'm like, such a bad idea. I mean, and this bothers me. This really bothers me as somebody who loves history, as somebody who's been a yearbook editor in college, a fan magazine editor, a fan magazine writer. You can't go back and whitewash the past. The past needs to be the past. All right, getting down off the soapbox.
Look, guys like me, we're leaving.
Okay. This is the comment right here. I've left it in. This is the comment that has everybody reporting. It's the white men can't leave the hobby fast enough comment. So here we go.
The workforce, to be blunt. And we're also not, this is not the face of the hobby anymore.
I would like to get that fact checked because when I go to conventions, wargaming conventions, gaming conventions, there are a lot of white men. Okay. There are a lot of white men. There are also women. There are also minorities, but there's a lot of white men. Okay. So I think this comment is incorrect.
I'm not the majority of this hobby anymore. And so it's important to me that my team of creators look like my players and have the lived experience that my players do. And I think there's been mistakes made in years past where people assumed that D&D players were all, white dudes in a basement.
So he's making an assumption that the creators must look like the players. And they're saying that the players are no longer white, but he's saying the white men have to get out of the hobby. There's just so much wrong with that. I'm like,
which has been a faulty assumption for a lot of years and gets more and more false every day. And so it's, in my viewpoint, honestly, guys like me can't leave soon enough.
I love the comment on the video where somebody was like, all right, you first, Kyle. So he's making assumptions that face of the hobby's changed. And I do think the face of the hobby's changed. I think there are, I think the hobby's more diverse. And, but he's saying we must have designers who look like what I'm telling you the face of the hobby is. And yet at the same time, he's like, white men can't leave fast enough. So they want to get rid of customers. Let's get rid of all the white men. We don't need them. And which was what the mistake they made with the OGL. Let's just get rid of all those. We don't need all those people. Get rid of them. They're making the same mistake again. We don't need. No, you want the people who are customers to be customers, and you want to expand your customer base. Getting rid of some of your customer base makes no sense. And this is the problem with this. And everybody's focused on the whole white men thing. Look, face of the hobby is changing. The hobby is more diverse. Yes, this is true. But saying you got to get rid of customers is foolish. But that's okay, because I probably don't have to ever give another dime to WotC again. If they don't want my money, I will take my money to other publishers. And, we use the term third-party publishers. It's no longer that we're third-party publishers. It's we are all 5e publishers, because we all have 5e. It's not D&D owns 5e. We're all 5e publishers. We own D&D. And there's going to be some statements on this clip. They're going to get back to that at the very end. And so I will wait for those to come about.
And we owe you good games. We owe you good products.
I just want to point out this, and we owe you good games, we owe you good products, is right on the heels of the white men can't leave the hobby fast enough. So the implication of the statement, when you break it down, is that we got to get the white men out of here. Why? Because we owe you good games. See, white men in the hobby, in the producers, they produce bad games. They produce bad content. That's why we got to get rid of them. And so why? Because we owe you good games.
And so we need to make sure that everybody working on it is real good at it.
Not white.
And that means not just hiring, but also developing, right? When we bring people in who are good, we need to empower them, give them more room to run, give them guidance on what we learned when we were creating stuff. So
now I want to pause there a minute, because this guy, Jeremy, really pushed him and said, look, he says, you're talking about diversity and all that. That's great. But everybody I've dealt with in a position of power at WotC is a white man. Now, I mean, we know the CEO right now is a woman, but he really pushed him. He goes, as a matter of fact, I think you're all cis white men. He goes, and so he was like, but so how are you going to really have change if you're not hiring into positions of power people who are diverse? And he pushed him on this, and we got a mealy mouth answer. And what he's saying here is that, yeah, we're bringing in diversity into these positions as, content creators and developers, so that we can give them the benefit of our wisdom and direction as white men. It's very patronizing and condescending, so we must give them the benefit of our wisdom and how they don't get to be in positions of power and authority within the company. They can be producers. We'll give them the benefit of our wisdom. It's so condescending. And I'm surprised Jeremy didn't call him on that, because it was like, I heard that and I was like, there we go. The massa running the plantation gonna tell you what to do and give you the benefit of our wisdom. I mean, he's playing plantation owner here, and I spotted it the first time I heard it, and I was like,
that they can create great stuff too. As long as we stay on this trajectory, yeah, this is the face of D&D will literally change.
So they want to play sociologists. They want to make a change in society. They want the face of D&D to change. They don't want white men that want to limit their customer base. And I'm like, how dumb is that? Okay. My money's just as good as the next guy's, but I can take it to another creator, and I probably will.
Many people suspect that one D&D is going to be strongly, it's going to be, at least with the release of one D&D, there's going to be a very strong focus on digital platforms like VTTs, that one D&D could end up being kind of what many suspect fourth edition was originally supposed to be. As I'm sure you know, fourth edition was supposed to have a VTT that it came with it. That didn't end up happening, and that caused, further difficulties in terms of playing the game. There's strong suspicions, especially with the announcement of the VTT and the clips that were shown, or the images that were shown in the announcement, that one D&D is going to be like a heavily online game, and that Wizards' focus is shifting more toward primarily producing online content, and that I think the phrase that was used in D&D Shorts' video is that books would then be like collector items or like special things that you could buy, but that were not key to the experience, and that everything else was going to be digital in terms of physical books, rather were going to be like collector's items.
So our goal is to give you more ways to play, so it's and not instead. We're going to keep making the game as we do today, and that's also why we love all the work that's being done by all the VTTs out there.
Okay, this is a big Pinocchio. We love the VTTs out there. They just tried to muscle them, strong arm all the VTTs, all their competition out of business. Okay, that it was cut and dry. It was plain as day in that document, and they doubled down in this interview about, oh yeah, it was a draft. Everything's a draft. It was mealy mouth BS on the whole doubling down on the draft. So, but this is a huge Pinocchio, and he's saying, "Oh yeah, we love the V." No, you don't, because you were trying to put them out of business with the terms of that contract that you were offering, and so I saved this clip because this was laughable when he's like, "Oh yeah, we love the other VTTs."
We think that's great. It's been essential for people to be able to play that way, and we think that's going to continue to be true. We would also like to offer a cool looking 3D space if people want to play in that too, but it's not ever meant to replace. It's just meant to be additive. Here's another way you could play if you like that. Here's another way you could play if you like that.
Okay, so they're denying that the books are going to go away, and a lot of people have been predicting they're going in a total digital direction. And the Shorts video guy predicted, oh yeah, books are going to become like collector's items. So they're denying this, and I don't believe them. He's clearly, I think he's Pinocchioing it right here, blowing smoke. And there's another statement that hasn't come up yet that makes me think, that that's the qualifying statement, that we want to sell what you want to buy. And so if the whole market goes towards their VTT that they want to roll out, they're distinguishing it. His language there was distinguishing it from the other VTTs. He was calling it a 3D space. It's a virtual tabletop, but so he's separating it from the other VTTs. But if the whole market goes in that direction, they'll stop selling the books. They only want to sell what people want to buy, and so they're attempting to control the market through this change in the OGL, and that didn't work out. It's not working out. I don't think they're done yet. I think they have other shenanigans for manipulating the market to come. And so I don't believe him on this. And let's go on.
How does D&D and Wizards of the Coast plan on rebuilding trust with the community?
Through actions. I mean, you behave your way out of a trust problem.
That's a good, correct statement from him. He didn't have a lot of statements I thought were correct, but that is a good, correct statement that they realize we have screwed up, we've lost trust, we need to behave our way. And he made a big deal at another point in this video that was the whole putting 5e out there, the 5e, the whole SRD, just put it out there. And so that's an attempt to buy back your trust. And he basically admitted it, that this was an attempt to buy back the trust. And I think that it was an attempt to buy back the trust so that people wouldn't tank the movie's premiere weekend, is what I really think it is. But I could be wrong. We'll see.
Don't talk your way out of it.
All right.
Some of this, our plans for the future is going to be like, well, we're going to be watching to see what y'all need, and acting on that. We want to make a game that you all want to play.
So we will be watching to see what you need. We want to make a game that you want to play. I think this is a callback to the part of the OGL where they were going to be able to just take whatever you publish under that new OGL and use it and print it and publish it themselves, or license it to somebody else, and you don't get nothing for it. That they were looking to find out what sells, and we'll just take that. And I think his statement here is, we're looking to see what you need, what you want to buy. So I think it's a little bit of a Freudian slip, and it just kind of shows the cards that, yeah, they were looking to not have to be creators themselves. He's made all these grand pronouncements. Oh, we're hiring people to be product developers and stuff like that. And you look back at what they've produced the past year, it's been a lot of misses, a lot of womp, womp, womp. And, so they're looking to have their cake and eat it too. And we're not going to actually have to really produce. We'll just see what other people are producing, and we'll take that. And where's the creativity? I'll tell you where the creativity is. It's in the OSR. It's in the third-party publishers. It's in these outside companies who have more creativity than WotC. And so I think this was an admission. I think this is very telling.
But honestly, we should not be messing up your game.
Amen, brother. You should not be messing up our game.
You should be playing your game. You don't. Honestly, you shouldn't need to trust Wizards of the Coast to play Dungeons and Dragons.
I had to share that clip. You shouldn't need to trust Wizards of the Coast to play Dungeons. And guess what? We don't need to trust Wizards of the Coast to play Dungeons and Dragons. We can play Dungeons and Dragons just fine without them. And there are plenty of creators out there producing great products. I just got this from Greg Gillespie. This thing is awesome. The Mega Dungeon Monster Manual. A lot of great people producing great stuff. I was reading this and enjoying it. This is really, really well done. So we don't need D&D, and we don't need to trust WotC. We can play D&D just fine without them.
So, yeah.
All right. So at this point here, it's a bunch of short clips of these two analyzing the interview. And so these are really telling. Some of these are really telling. And then the last one, I think it was a great piece of wisdom from Jeremy. And so that's why it's in there. So we'll go through these quickly.
There was a few instances like that where there was some obfuscation. Yeah, we were told not to hold back, and I don't think we did. I think that we asked every question that we meant to ask. But I don't know. I feel like that we just didn't get straight answers particularly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're going, yeah, we didn't get straight answers. So they're not buying the BS, and I applaud them for that.
It's hard to believe that they weren't all thoroughly examined beforehand, and like every question that we asked was anticipated, and you know,
Yeah.
they had an answer set in place for each of them, you know.
They wouldn't have done this if they didn't have that in place.
Yeah.
They absolutely, and actually they had asked for the questions ahead of time, which we did not send them the questions ahead of time.
Okay, you know, I gotta say, good job. They didn't send the questions ahead of time. You know,
They said that this was specifically so that they could. I'm not going to quote them, but because I don't have the email in front of me, but I believe they said it was so that they could make sure that they had all the information. Because sometimes people are raising legal issues and so forth, and
so they can have the
part of
pad
legal team,
answers
he can't
ready.
Speak to that. So it could be the case. If we take them at their word, then sure, that was the reason
No,
why
he's
they were
being
asking.
generous.
It could also be because they were trying to be prepared for specific questions and know maybe the tone of the interview so that they could be prepared.
So now here's the thing. They actually went to their Discord and like got questions from the fans on their Discord, and they compiled questions from the Discord. Now we know from this whole OGL thing that WotC has people watching social media. It's not outside the realm of possibility that somebody from WotC got into the Discord and just, you know, they were like, oh, these are the questions they're going to ask, and they prepped the answers. And there was a lot of evidence in the interview that Kyle had really prepped answers to him, and that and so, you know, WotC was like, yeah, give us the questions. They didn't get them. It doesn't matter. We got them anyways. I really think that they've done their homework, and you know, and so there's a lot of, you know, blowing smoke and trying to distract away from certain things. Like we'll talk about meta and the 3D, you know, gaming space. The, you know, the where you wear the visor and that whole thing, and then distract people from the VTTs. And even then, when we talk about VTTs, we're going to separate what we're doing from other third-party VTTs. And you know, there was a lot of lying going on. I mean, they're being very generous. I think there was a lot of lying going on. There was lying. Lying has been going on right along through all the statements that they've come out with. And you know, there's not been a good apology. It's so you can't trust them, and you know, they should not be trusted.
I'm with you, Liv. I remain unconvinced on a number of topics. Specific, basically everything about the OGL 1.1. I'm like,
yeah. See, they weren't buying the BS either, and you know.
My trust in Wizards of the Coast and D&D as an organization is certainly shaken, and so I'm still playing D&D like in private games. I don't necessarily have a problem with that. I commend anybody who is switching. I personally feel I can say that one thing that is unequivocal, two things, is number one, my trust in the system is broken in their corporation. They have still shown their hand, and now they are trying to fix that. But to me, it's still going to take a lot of effort and work to build back that trust. I'm going to need to see a lot more than even just an interview. If the things he's saying in the interview are carried through, and the attitude that he brought forth in the interview is actually followed, then I'm like, great. But that's going to be that's going to need to be months of activity or years of activity for me to really, that, as you said, it remains to be seen.
So, you know, they're skeptical about the smoke that was blown their way in this interview. And they're basically saying, look, we're going to have to watch and see if what this guy has promised is actually true or whether it's false. And
that is one thing.
Now, this last clip, he said one thing at the very end, and I was like, that is the money shot of this whole video, was this one thing. And I was like, absolutely. So let me play that for you.
The other thing is this: it is not healthy for the TTRPG landscape to have one one giant game controlling
Absolutely.
so much of the space.
Yeah, it is not healthy for the tabletop RPG landscape for just one game to dominate the whole thing, to be the 900-pound gorilla in the room. And I think we're all seeing that now. I think we're all realizing that the company has burned our trust. They can't be trusted. They've lied during the OGL controversy. These interviewers are not buying the smoke. I'm looking at it going, yeah, Pinocchio. Woo! And so I think that there's more to come with WotC. I really do. I'm not 100% sure what it is, but I do think there's more to come. And I think the attack will come on the VTTs, that they have not proposed, all right, we're going to take the old OGL, we're going to add the word irrevocable to it, and we're going to put it out there, and we're going to call it, 1.0B. They've not done that. And I think they're going to try to pull this. We're revoking the old OGL. You can't use it. And what are you complaining about? You've got the Creative Commons. Just shut up, be quiet. Because it'll be about muscling out of business the third-party VTTs. So I think we will have to, as a hobby and as a community, we will have to make sure we support these VTTs over WotCs that they're going to roll out and not allow this to go on. This is the shot I'm calling that they're going to do, because that's what they were trying to do. They were looking to muscle all those VTTs out of business, and I think they'll do it again. I think they've done this Creative Commons move to placate us so that we go to sleep, and then they'll wait a year, 2 years, and they'll pull out the other move and stick the knife in the back of competition, because they want to be a monopoly. And I'm like, let's not let them be a monopoly. They should not dominate the marketplace. There are a lot of great creators out there. And this Black Flag and the Orc, I am really looking forward to seeing these. I'm really looking forward to seeing which way the community goes. And with 1,500 people signing on to the Orc, that sounds pretty good. I'm going to wait to see what actually comes about, but we need to, as a hobby, not go to sleep, not be duped, not buy the BS. And, everybody's going to report on the whole white men comment, whatever. I think he just, I don't know why he said that. It was foolish, or maybe it was to distract us from the rest of the interview. I don't know. But they have plans. They have plans for the Twitter mob. They have plans to revise stuff they want to change, all the back catalog going back to the 70s. They think anything that's old is bad, and we must change it. We must fix it. And, I think there's more to be concerned about in this interview than just, a whistle blowing, dog whistle of a, comment about white men. That's the least thing to worry about in this interview. Special thanks to Three Black Hobbits for hosting the interview and their YouTube. They did. I thought Jeremy really pushed at key points in the interview, and he asked good questions. And I clearly they weren't buying it. So check them out. I'm going to put a link to their show in the show notes. Please check them out. Throw them a like, throw them a sub, help them build their channel, because they did a great job, and they did us a service by hosting this interview, because I think there were some Freudian slips. I think they slipped, and they let us know things they might not have wanted us to know. So, props to Three Black Hobbits. You guys were great, and you did a great job. This is Tom from Tabletop Taproom saying thanks for watching my video, And thanks to my subscribers. You guys are great. And if you've not subscribed, please do hit the like, subscribe, and bell icon and help me build the channel. And until then, keep on gaming.